Talk to me again about one of the most challenging missions that you had. The one where you thought it was over.
Oh, okay. So that was
Oh,
October 16th, 2012, in the RC South Afghanistan, Kandahar, in the Panjwai province.
Panjwai. Okay.
We were at a cop called Spur Wangar, where we had occupied that place for about 9 months, I want to say. Again, like I said, there's a book on that hill called Lions of Kandahar. I believe the seventh group that took that hill, but that hill has been occupied by Canadians. It was occupied by obviously Americans. I mean, when you get there on the side of the mountain, you see like the the remnants of the Canadian flag where they kind of just painted it in the little maple leaf or whatever that
Hmm.
thing is, right? So that particular day, we were going on a patrol to a place called Sketcha to do just a movement of contact because that was one of the biggest places where we were finding that there was a whole bunch of HME homemade explosives. We were trying to see what we can find out with who's running it in, who's pelling it out, and
Putting
because
it together and all that.
well,
Yeah.
putting it together is actually way more simpler than you think. I mean, kids were doing it.
Yeah.
Kids would actually be able to have pins, and a pin got turned into a little IED. As soon as you press
Wow. And so
the
that
cap will
small,
blow your hand off.
that
Well, a couple
small, huh?
fingers, yeah. Like they were getting pretty. They're not stupid people. They survived the Russian invasion, and they kicked Russia's ass.
Wow.
You know, when Russia tried to invade Afghanistan and occupy it, they absolutely destroyed them using the terrain because the terrain was one of the biggest things they had to go for. So we were trying to find out so we could try to disperse whoever was the guy that was either holding it or setting it up for us to step on them because in the beginning when we first got there were heavy loads, so when you step on it, it would almost kill you.
Oh.
But then somehow we got word from Intel that they were starting to realize that if you kill the soldiers, their families would get large amounts of money. So they obviously didn't want that. So they started making it to there will just be maimed extremely crucial. That's where you start seeing these double, triple, quadruple amputees, that are going. They don't want to kill you, but they just want to, essentially really fuck you up for the rest of your life. This particular time, we were heading out there just doing what we got to do. We're doing our patrol. We're starting to walk. We got the head of the fucking formation with a mine hound. It's just like think about it as a metal detector. It's just sweeping back and forth. And that guy is trained through EOD and how to properly employ and use that mine hound and detect the different types of sound that it makes, like rah, 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 that kind of shit.
Hmm.
That guy was specially trained with the EOD to be able to use that. You just can't put any like Joe Snuffy on that thing and like, hey, go clear a path for us, because you're essentially you're a walking leg lottery at that point, right? You just can't do that. And the guy was really good at it, man. Brandon Harrod, shout out to him. The dude was like a fucking mastermind at doing it. We found maybe, I know this sounds a minuscule, like we found like maybe four the entire time we were there. But man, somehow this dude was like a
Where,
man.
where where would they put these?
So mainly they will want to put you on, they will want to get you on like major avenues of approach, like a very heavily traffic area
Hmm.
or into choke points that force you into a point. So what we started doing when we started realizing that, and again, it's not like we were fucking losing guys left and right before we realized that, but when we started, getting the reports from the surrounding units, what was happening to them, we started taking the shittiest, the hardest, the most unpredictable routes to get there. We will go over grape roads and under and not under, but we'll go over and through, and we would try to avoid the roads at all. So we
We'll
were
go.
heading out to this patrol. Again, me and my one of my best friends to this day, my brother, Stephen Coaches. I was in charge of my team, and he was in charge of his team. But Steven was a real big like gung ho dude. So he had swapped weapons with a saw gunner.
Hmm.
Saw with an M249.
Oh. Okay.
And so he swapped weapons with him because I mean the dude's 6'7", so I mean
Yeah. To him, it's like carrying a
any
pistol.
yeah. So for him, he's 6'7", so he was grabbing that thing, and I mean, you ever seen a 6'7" dude carry a fucking fully automatic machine gun and just if you think you're hiding behind a fucking no, you're not. No, the fuck you're not. The dude is gonna put it in you, and he's gonna shoulder fire that thing without having to be on the ground. He was fucking up deadly. It was a deadly person with that thing. We came across this massive weed field, like fucking weed plants were like maybe 8-9 feet tall, buds like this fucking long.
Damn.
And so
Did you get any? Did you
no,
try
I
any?
don't. I don't do drugs, man. I've never done drugs. I'll tell you what we'll do. We will burn them.
Oh yeah.
That in the poppy fields, we will burn that shit.
You ever see any after you burn them? You ever see like any
they'll piss.
any wildlife just stumbling around all red?
No, not really. Not really. You know, like I wouldn't really see it because their animals will not be anywhere near their poppy fields or their wheat fields because that's their source of income. So they don't want that going over there, right? Their sheep will really not be there.
You think did they ever booby trap that kind of stuff or no?
At least not while I was there. So that's maybe they got a little they caught up to it after we left. Maybe I don't know, but while we were there, they weren't doing that. You know, that's their prize. That's their prize. So they would not want. That's how they make money.
Yeah.
And what they would do with the weed, they would just cut them, grind them down, and then use them as like dip. It's not necessarily, hey, let's smoke this fucking doobie, right?
Yeah.
Now and then the poppy was how they made that. I mean, I'll go into the story after this one. We found like 4 tennis balls of fucking black tar heroin. God. And but I'll get into that story later.
Okay.
So anyway, so we got stopped. We were going through this weed field. It was fucking thick, and then all of a sudden, and we just hear a fucking machine gun start going off. So we all fucking hit the floor, trying to find some sense of direction because we're in the middle of this field going through. So imagine a big rectangle, and we're kind of like in a non so straight line going from corner to corner, just kind of zigzagging the way through to.
Is that a tactic that you were taught?
I think that was just the way it happened, not necessarily what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
But just we were just trying not to where, Jurassic Park, where you're just walking and you see the one limbs moving side to side. So we were trying to mask our movement as much as we could. But I think it just kind of, like I said, a square from corner to corner, and it just kind of like an unstraight line. So when we start hearing the machine gun go off, which was pretty much an RPK, we hit the deck and we started trying to find some sense of like orientation. Where's this shit coming from? Essentially, this kind of portion where it's like, fuck it, volume by fire. Our lead, the far lead element, Alex Heaton, was the security for the guy with the Valen from Brandon Aaron. He gave a good distance, and he gave a good triple D, which is distance, direction, and description. Where we're getting shot at from. So everyone echoed that. We oriented our weapons in that particular area, and we just let a fucking hate volume in that general direction. Yeah. Now, granted,
whole lot of fuck yous.
A whole lot of fuck yous. Now, did that really do nothing? No, because at the time we did know that there was about maybe a 12-inch mud wall. And again, it's all mud there. Like everything's mud. Mm-hmm. There's a mud wall there, and they drilled out a hole. Maybe not drilled, but they dug out a hole just big enough for them to put their barrel, and just squeeze and kind of just do this and just kind of move it around. A spray and pray tactic. So a lot of our rounds was just smacking the mud, the mud wall. So it really wasn't having effective fires. Well, so then we decided, fuck it, let's shoot an AT4 at it. So we fucking everyone gets clear. We set up a position. We start doing suppressive fire. The guy comes up, shoots the AT4, fucking blows the weed behind him, like just cuts it down, and we just start coming. Like, fuck, now they know where we're at, right? Obviously, like they probably would have fucking known we're on the ground shooting up and shit, right? But as soon as that fucking little, like maybe halfway or a little bit more than half the trees, because when the flash came, it just kind of just chopped it.
Yeah,
like, whoop, like shit. No, now they know where we're at. Goes and dude, must have made a hole like maybe this big. It wasn't even big at all. It didn't blow through it. It didn't like just boom like you would
like
see,
in Hollywood.
Like in Hollywood, where it's just like boom, it just blows the fucking. No, bro, it's like maybe this big. It just punctured through. Poof. That's it. That's all.
So Was there a blast that happened on the other side of that wall then, or?
No, that guy happened to get away.
Mm.
And it was nowhere near because once it actually happened, when it hit and it blew, I'm assuming that it scared the guy off, and he just took off running back into the town of Sketcha.
Sounds like
And
some sketchy shit. No,
some sketchy shit. Yeah, it went back into the town of Sketcha. So we kind of reconsolidate, reorganize, we pick up, and we move towards that in that general direction. We find the little porthole that was going. We find where our AT4 had landed. Man, we were like maybe 4 or 5 meters off of where he was actually shooting from us.
So how accurate is that AT4? I mean, I would
Oh,
imagine
you can put that shit as long if you're steady, you can put that shit inside of a window.
Oh, okay.
You can put that shit in
Probably
in a
adrenaline,
window.
man.
You can put that shit in a window.
Yeah.
That thing is really accurate. Anti-tank, so
Nice.
you fucking take out a whole tank crew with that. Even more so with a fucking with an M3 Carl Gustav.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. I still need to see something.
You could fucking absolutely destroy anybody with that, right? So we start doing the tedious work of breaking down this wall so we can get through. Man, first we're like, well, we don't have anything to dig, so we resorted back to good old fucking hand strength. We just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and eventually we started breaking, and we made ourselves a big enough wall for us to jump over. Obviously, once we come over, we had to shoot 2 guys over so they can get security on both sides before we send over the Valen and start clearing a way for us. Now, this is where it started getting challenging because where that port was, so when we jump over towards the left where the port was over here, the brass and all that brass and dunnage was there and links and shit. So that made it extremely difficult for Eric to be able to clear a proper path for us, right? Because it was just raining there. So, and we were afraid to just, hey, let's sweep it out of the way, because what if there is something down there? And he purposely did that. So if we come sweep it, any little thing, boom, now we're dead, right? Or at least he will be extremely fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the first risk mitigations that we had to try to do. Whether, hey, should we? And just to our so when we jump over and we go this way, and just beyond that was a little creek, a little shit creek, and then there was another edge to the other side. So we contemplated maybe just crossing the little shit creek to the other side. I think at that particular time our PO was very gung ho. Man, shout out to fucking Jimmy Guns.
Jimmy Guns.
James McGrath. He was our PO. Fucking old Jimmy Guns from Boston. He was a fucking hard charger. He's like, fuck it, let's just go. We need to catch up to this dude. Eric did the best he could. We cleared it. It was happened to be okay. We continued to go. We found ourselves in this grapevine. At this particular time, the Army still had AWTs, the air weapons teams, where the Kiowas were still in effect. Nowadays, they don't use Kiowas anymore. I think now it's just the little birds, the travel little birds, and the attack helicopters, but they don't use Kiowas anymore. So we started to get a Kiowa team, which generally consists of either 2 Kiowas or a Kiowa and an Apache with us. We had 2 Kiowas. We were going to start. We had got on the radio that they were on our. They just broke off from a TIC. TIC stands for Troops in Contact, and they just finished that. And they're making their way out to us, and they had about 20 minutes to play. When they say they have 20 minutes to play, that's as long as they can be with you before they have to break off and go get refueled.
Okay.
With no guarantee that we're going to be able to have some more air support. At nighttime, we always had air support, didn't matter what. But during the daytime, sometimes we just had to make do with what we had, especially down south, because there's so many ticks going on there. They didn't have enough aviation to be able to support everybody. So it's just sometimes you had to stick it out and just survive on your own.
So especially in the nighttime operations, how do they know not to shoot at you, like the aerial?
We have what's called IR strobes in our helmets.
Okay.
We'll just turn on our IR strobes and start blinking, and then obviously the RTO, which you know what that is, the radio transmission guy, or the radio man is what we call him. He'll communicate, or sometimes the PL or the platoon sergeant will communicate with the bird in the sky, like, hey, we have 44 friendlies marked with IR strobes. IR is infrared for those watching. Infrared, right? Obviously not visible to the naked eye, but under nods, you're able to see that infrared strobe. So depending on the element that we have, we'll be like, hey, friendlies are in the area marked by IR strobes. And then they'll come back and confirm, like, okay, we see IR. Obviously, they're not going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 44. Yep, I see them all. You right? They're just going to take a glance down, like, okay, I see
A blinking.
I see a blinking smorgasbord
Yeah.
of soldiers. That must be them. That's how they were able to tell when they're using their flare, and that helped us out a lot.
So when you, sorry, just to kind of clarify, like how you would give direction, like where the enemy is, would you be like they're northeast of us, they're south, or?
So generally, we like to keep it in everyday English, right? We're not trying to do riddles over the net. We're not trying to, you know, play like decipher what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's as close to plain English as everyday English as you can. For instance, if we were to come and get troops in contact, where you will be, and you're trying to guide the bird in the direction, you do something along the lines of Dark Horse 7-6. This is Bayonet 3-2. Enemy 300 meters in north of our position. They'll go and like, oh, identify, hey, weapons free. Well, I mean, I couldn't say weapons free, right? Because I can't give that order. But generally, the PL will be the ones to take care of most of that. But if I was the PL, then it would be something like, hey, Dark Horse 7-6. So this is Bayonet 3-6. Enemy troops in the open, 250 meters from our locations, weapons free once identified. So they'll go, they'll identify, okay, cool, weapons free. Boom. Go like that, right? And then you start getting to something along the lines. If you start getting danger close, you'd be like, hey, Dark Horse 7-6, this is Bayonet 3-6. Be advised, enemy is 150 meters in due east to our location. Once identified, weapons free. Be advised, danger close. So that lets them know, okay, when I engage these people, friendlies are in a nearby, right? So obviously, if there's a Blackhawk, he's not gonna shoot a fucking Hellfire.
Yeah, just guns at that point.
It just lets them know
What
how
kind of
close you are and what can they actually shoot, right? You're not gonna drop a JDAM on 150-meter distance between enemy and friendly, right? You're gonna fucking kill all of us. Now, has that happened before? Yeah. So you have to. There is a procedure you can override a danger close. You have to. An officer has to sign off on it.
From your experience, and from what you've heard from other army buddies, how often does blue on blue happen? You guys call it the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
And when I say blue on blue, I mean like friendly fire, like
fratricide.
yeah.
Thank God, thank you Jesus. It never happened. We came close to one time. We came real close to getting fratricide. We almost got. We were. That's another funny story. Happened that same deployment too. Um, I came close to one time, but throughout my career and throughout my deployments, most of the times that I've heard it has always been in training. It was always been in training.
Oh, okay.
I've heard of other times like, oh, it's happened. They accidentally killed, so and so or whatever in theater. But most of the time that like where it's big news, it was most of the time in training.
Wow. Yeah, because I mean, there's really
During
no
live
excuse.
fire exercises.
Really no excuse for it at that point, right?
Because I mean, it's just you're and I understand the point of drilling. When you're tired and you're doing a live fire exercise at like 2, 3 in the morning, and you've been at it all day doing dry, blank, dry, blank, and then live rounds, right? So you're doing that 3 times in the day, 3 times in the afternoon, 3 times in the early morning, 3 times at night, right? I mean, not early morning, early night, and then 3 times later on at night, right? So it can get pretty tedious, and if you don't condition yourself to where the whole train as I fight, like I'm gonna train like if I'm fighting for real, so I need to stay mentally sharp all the time. I can definitely, and if you're just kind of just there to essentially like collect a paycheck, that you're not in the right percent. You shouldn't be in the infantry if you're just there to collect a paycheck, because you need to stay sharp. You need to stay mentally focused. You need to push the shit that does not matter at the time. Doesn't matter what's going on at home. It doesn't matter what, you know, what bill you haven't paid. What matters is this.
Yeah.
You have live rounds in your magazine. You have other people's lives in your hands. Focus on what you're doing, and don't be a reason why you you actually have a friendly fracture site, or you kill somebody because of an accident that you have. Now, there's some things that just happen. Yeah, there's some things that sometimes it just happens. You know, we can't control, but like rollovers. You know, sometimes it
Yeah.
just is something you just can't do nothing about it. I saw once in the Army times where like a Humvee was rolling over a bridge, and I think it was Fort Stewart or something when I was there, and the bridge gave way. Whoop! It just rolled off, and granted, it wasn't very deep. It was like maybe 4 feet of water, but when that thing rolled over, they couldn't get the people out. They drowned. So it's just some shit. It's just, sometimes it shit happens. You
You know
know?
that my first deployment, it's a sad story, but we had I think it's a crew of 5 in a tank. Is that right?
I have no idea, man.
Okay.
I have no idea. I've never been a tanker.
I want to say it was a crew of 5 in a tank when I was in country in Iraq. It was the Al Anbar province.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of the outskirts of around Fallujah area. But anyway, so we're gonna go check on another unit, and to get there, it was across this big creek, and they had this one. It's like a bridge that you could tell a tank set up. You know what I'm talking about? It's like the little 2 tracks, and you can drive. It's real tight, real tight. And you drive over it. We could drive over it on our Humvees, but I just remember we were driving over it. I was looking down, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I can't even really see the bridge at this point. I could just see like water. That's how tight it was.
Mhm.
So I was freaking out, man. Like I'm nervous as shit, and I'm just like telling the driver Lutz, I'm like, Lutz, you know, I'm fucking freaking out, man. Please don't, go like you stay straight, man. So, anyways, we cross over and we get to them. We conduct our business and we come back. So later on, I want to say maybe a month later, so it wasn't that much longer after we had gone there. We got the news that there was like 5 new KIA, and come to find
The
out,
bridge collapsed.
maybe I don't know. I guess, but they were trying to drive a tank over it.
Oh hell no.
Yeah, so they drove a tank over it, and the all the guys died because they drowned.
Sometimes it happens, man. I just don't know. But going back to the story, so we started. They check on station, and they're kind of giving us of just observing report for right now as we're moving, and they're doing reconnaissance ahead of us, see what's going on, if they see anything moving around, because they'll start spooking people. Well, we start going to these grape roads, and we started again. That's when I was saying I was creeping over this grape road to come the other. They grabbed me, pulled me back, and that's when Manny was clicking like, "Hey, shoot that D, will you motherfucker?" Start shooting, and the whole where my big mentor, Ronnie Morgan, told me, "Hey, we got them right where we want them, all around us." So once all that, and we started laughing and like making light of the situation, because man, when you're staring death in the face, why be scared? Why be scared? No point in being scared. Death is gonna come to everybody, and I guess that's the way I looked at it. Is like I've never been afraid to die. Maybe my first deployment, but since then, not even first deployment. I was afraid that maybe the first engagement, but since then, I never really felt the like, oh my god, I don't want to die. It's just, I guess I always thought if I always do the right thing, God would protect me. If I do the right thing, I make sure I'm sharp, I'm on it, you know, God will protect me. And I never was afraid. I figured that being afraid would cloud my judgment, and I can essentially I can be responsible for other people dying. So I never was afraid. So again, seeing death, or facing death in the face, or what we always see, like knocking on the devil's doorstep, and when he answers, why are you being afraid? You're knocking on his motherfucking door. Look at him in the face, say, "You're my bitch now." right? And that's just the way I've always looked at it that way. It's like, if I'm going to knock on the devil's doorstep, when he answers, I'm not going to be afraid. We're going toe to toe now. So we laughed. And I mean, as many people know, laughter is the best form of comfort, right?
Dude,
Dark
so
humor.
true. Yeah, I mean, like, okay, for a lot of you that don't know, I've never been through that. If you if you ever think that like veterans have a dark sense of humor, we all do, and I'll tell you right now, it's because at some point during the deployments, things got so bad where it was like you couldn't even really understand it, grasp it, comprehend it. You just had to laugh at it just to, like, I don't know, keep you sane, I guess.
Yeah, someone like, can it get any worse than this?
Yeah.
And then it does. And then you laugh some more. You're like, fuck, I jinxed myself. Right? So it's just, you just, and I don't know, man. I've been around where people just break down mentally and they're just shaking and crying and they just give up. And it's just, I've never been that kind of person. I've never given up. And I've been in some hairy ass situations. I've never been the type of person where it's like, okay, I'm too afraid to do something. Doing something is better than doing nothing at all, right? Obviously, you want to make sure you do the right thing, but doing something is always better than doing nothing. So, we laughed it up and we picked a direction that we were going to fight our way through to get back to the main MSR. Main MSR is a main supply route, right? We ended up going to this route called Route Brown. There's actually a movie called no, Route Hyena.
Route Hyena.
Route Hyena. MSR Hyena, right? So it was actually a movie. I don't know if it was a good movie or not, but I remember seeing it once, something called about Route Hyena, because it's a huge main supply route that we ended up taking. A lot of like support elements will take that and they'll get shot the fuck up on that route. Well, anyways, we go into the other side of the route, and mind you, we're like sporadic, a couple here, a couple there. And this is the big LDA where we're actively getting shot at, and we need to run up and go down the other way. So it's not like one huge ducks in a row. You just like everybody follow the leader. We're just one big centerpiece. We weren't exactly doing that.
Oh,
We're
okay.
like shooting 2, 3 at a time, maybe 4 or 5 after that, 6, 7 after that, 1 after that, 2 after that, right? So it's just like shooting over. So as you get people are going, and I think I want to say the adrenaline of what's happening, trying to get into a good support by fire position to be able to engage the enemy. So give the rest of the element an opportunity to get to the other side. We started getting separated from each other. So maybe like first squad's over here and second squad's like maybe a couple meters behind them. And, everybody's just, we start to what's called accordion. We're going and we're getting close and then we're spreading out again. Then we're getting close and we're spreading out all over. So we're starting to have this accordion effect. And it was crazy because I was in the front of the formation pretty much all the patrol. By the time this shit happened, I was like 3/4 of the way back
Oh, wow.
with Steve's team being at the rear. So we get across and I go and I try to establish myself in a good position and I poke my head up and fucking duck down. I can hear the whizzing of the rounds snapping by me, skipping off the asphalt, ricocheting down. I'm like, fuck. Let me try to attack this place from a different angle. I pushed down a little bit more. If I got myself a good position, just poked my head up and started shooting down range. And when I came down, as we're alternating shots between me and my team, I looked over to my left and I saw Steve on the knee. And I was like, yo. And I remember looking at my saw gunner, Klein. I was like, hey, what's Steve doing? And he goes, he's reloading. I was like, oh, okay. So we pushed down a little bit more to get a better angle because we can see them start like bounding to the trees, right? No, they're not like, oh, we're gonna walk in the open and fucking. They're not doing that shit, right? They're gonna essentially do because we essentially taught them how to fight. So they're teaching them how they're bounding to the trees. So we're trying to fucking shoot, in like treated areas and try to get like as long as we get a little window, we're trying to fucking put rounds in that bitch, And then again, Manny's over there with his fucking 40 mic just dumping hate into the tree lines and shit. And so we pushed down a little bit more. I look back to my left and I still see Steve on a knee. And I'm like, damn, he's taking forever. Okay, let's push down a little bit more. And thinking about it now, maybe I shouldn't have pushed down a little bit more. I figured like, okay, he'll catch up. He'll catch up, right? Like it's not that far. I still see him. He's not far from me. I still see him. So I mean, he must have only been like maybe 100 meters away from me, maybe 120 at that. So I was like, oh, he's not that far. In retrospect, he's not far when you're thinking about it. But when it's coming to like, shit, we're in a fire, we need to go. So I pushed up a little bit more to, I was like, maybe about 120 away from him. And we keep shooting and I keep looking and he's still there. And I'm thinking, fuck, he has a jam. All right. So, and I start seeing his team catching up to my team. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? My squad. His team was catching up to my squad. And I was like, yo, what the fuck? And I was like, where's Steve? I was like, I think he's still reloading. And I was like, fuck. Hey, and I told him, Manny, take the guys. I'm going to go back for Steve. My cell gunner client is like, hey, D, do you want me to go with you? In retrospect, I should have told them, yeah, come with me. I could use you. But I was like, nah, man, it's literally right there. I'll run as fast as I can to get to him. I'll fix that fucking jam up and we'll come sprinting back. Again, in retrospect, I should have brought him with me. So he's like, all right, fucking take off, running as fast as I can. I just have client, hey, right now I need you to do a mad 30 seconds. And what a mad 30 seconds is, just open up on a fucking cyclic rate of fire. Cyclic rate of fire is just automatic. Just hold the trigger down for 30 seconds and don't let it go.
No.
Yo, don't let it go for 30 seconds, right? When it's coming to rate to fire, it's a sustained, rapid, and cyclic, when you're talking about those things. So sustained rate of fire is like maybe 12 to 15 rounds a minute. Rapid is, maybe 100 to 200 rounds a minute. And then cyclic will be 3 to, 500 rounds a minute. You're just holding the fucking trigger down. So I thought, hey,
nonstop.
I say do a mad 30 seconds. For 30 seconds, just hold that fucking trigger down to give me enough time to cover me to run as fast as I can to get over there so they can get their heads down. He did it. I fucking ran as fast as I could. I got to him. And so he was kind of like on a knee this way with his barrel in the dirt. And he's like, ah. So I'm running up to him and I'm thinking, oh shit, like what's wrong? Did you twist your ankle or something? So I'm like, Steve, what's happening? He's like, I'm hit. I'm like, oh shit. It's like, where'd you get hit from? On the plate. And a sappy plate right here. He took a ricochet. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a dead on ricochet. It kind of just ricocheted and just glanced off that way. But I mean, that's getting punched in the ribs too.
Knock the wind out of him at least.
I was like, it ricocheted and just ricocheted. You can see a little thing, So it's not like it's not like he still got punched in the ribs.
Lucky.
What I'm saying? And
though, man.
So he's like struggling to breathe, like he sounded like he had fucking asthma. And I was like, you all right? Like, yeah. So I just quickly looked down. I opened up his side plays, just plate carriage right here, just to see that it didn't go through or anything. And he was like, oh, I could see like a little red spot. Like it first started off like this little. He was like, oh, that's gonna get bruised real bad, right? And so then I was like, all right, Steve, we need to get the fuck out of here, man, because we're behind. So I started clipping this shit back and asked him, hey, how many more rounds do you have in that thing? He goes and lifts it up with one hand, and in a 5-second burst, black on ammo. Like, I'm out. Like, are you fucking shitting me? And I'm like, fuck, man. And we were getting into this, like, this was a firefight that was like pretty serious firefight. We were out for a few hours, like maybe 5-6 hours.
5-6 hours out there.
We were only supposed to be out there. We were only supposed to be out there for 3.
Oh damn.
We were out for a while.
Double the time.
And we didn't have a resupply get dropped. We didn't have what's called a speedball to drop off to us because we had Kiowas. We had times where the Kiowas would just go to our fob, pick up crates, and they'll fly like maybe 21 feet off the ground, just dump the crates off the side of the plane, and we'll run up to them, grab and load up right then and there, right?
Kind of like a supply drop in Call of Duty.
Something like that, but not to that extent, because obviously
not that easy.
Obviously when you're dropping a fucking crate from 21 feet, the crate busts open, and then the fucking ammo cans are, and sometimes you get ammo just flying everywhere. Because I mean, you're dropping something heavy, 21 feet, bang, smash down to the earth. Not all the rounds are worth it. Some rounds are fucked, right? Man. So it's not like you get, oh, it's not like Call of Duty was like, oh, we got everything there. So not everything works out that way. Same thing with water. Sometimes they'll get the big one, they'll dump it 21 feet, bam. Not all the water makes it. Out of maybe the pack of like what was it, 6? Maybe only 2 make it.
Oh wow!
You know, so it's not like it was
the inner 2.
no, like the actual like the 1 liter bottles.
Yeah,
When
but
they
I'm
would
saying
drop
like
down.
the pack of 6.
Yeah,
the ones
you know
in
the little
inside,
packs of 6 is like sometimes only 2 make it.
Damn.
You know, I very rarely did they. I mean, unless you drop 2 of them on top of them, and then the other one makes it, like they kind of cushion. Not all of them make it. So, I clip them up, and I'm like, all right, man, we need to catch up. So what we need to do is we need IMT, individual movement techniques, right? 3 to 5 second rush, where you'll run 3 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds, you'll get down. You pick up, you run 3 to 5 seconds, you pick down, right? A good thing in basic training, where they always told us to remember when you're doing that movement technique, is when you're running, say in your head, I'm up, they see me, I'm down. Boom.
The same
I'm
thing as
up,
the
they see
Marines.
me, I'm down.
Same thing with
I'm
Marines,
up, they
yeah.
see me, I'm down. So you know
that's how fast you stay
that's
up.
that's how long you should stay up.
Yeah.
I'm up, they see me, I'm down. I'm up, they see me, I'm down. So in your talking about it, it's a lot easier to do it until you're actually doing it and you realize, holy shit, this is a fucking smoker. Now add 30 some pounds of just body armor without ammo. Then you got ammo on top of you, and then you got water, and then you got your 3-day assault pack. Then you got your Kevlar.
Easy, like 70 pounds, 80
and you know
pounds.
that's it. That's even more weight that you have to pick up, run, drop down to the ground. Pick up, run, drop down to the ground, and then you have a 6'7", 250-pound fucking behemoth of a man on you. You know, and it was crazy. So we're kind of running and we're flopping down like a sack of potatoes to the ground, and I mean we didn't make it very long. It was like maybe 20 meters. Before that was tiring. I was like, okay, cool. That's gonna be way too tiring for me because I was getting exhausted just trying to like pick them up and kind of drag them along.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, so let's do this then. We can't obviously. I knew we couldn't just stay there and just get a catch of breath because the and that was the disconnect we were having in that particular day. The element just kept getting spread out. So they were in the front. They started to reconsolidate. Everybody was starting to reconsolidate. So I don't know where the disconnect happened, where they didn't realize that we were still in the back of the formation, way by ourselves, trying to catch up. So everyone was trying to make it to the rally point in the front to get reconsolidated, reorganized, and we're still trying to make it up there. So the separation between us became massive, massive, massive. Right? I don't want you to think it's like a mile or anything. It wasn't like that. It was like maybe more than 300, 350, 300, 350 meters.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, it doesn't sound like much, but when you actually think of how far 300 meters is and how far 350 meters is, oh, that's far. Especially if you're IMTing, that's fucking far.
At least it's so far that like if you were yelling, they probably couldn't hear you, huh?
Oh, fuck no. I mean, with the gunfire, fuck, you're not, even if nothing there, you're not hearing somebody yelling that far out there. You're not hearing that. It was like maybe 350 meters max with the separation. Could you see them? Yeah, I could still see them. You know, I can see the fucking OpCore helmets off in the distance.
Uh-huh.
You know, by that point, they're like this fucking small already.
Damn.
It's like I can see them, but it's fucking far. Not to deal with the Peltors and shit on, so you know, I kind of like, hey, we're about to be in a bad way real quick. So from there, we decided, hey, you know what? I'm gonna run as fast and as long as I can. We're gonna drop down 10-second break, and we're gonna keep doing that again. That only lasted another like 40, 50 meters. I was like, fuck, I'm tired. And man, Steve was telling me, he's like, hey, it's okay if it's okay, man. If I don't make it, just leave me here. I was like, nah, bro, I'm not gonna leave you. We trained together, we played together, we do everything together. And it's funny because I think at this time is when the Bad Boys 2 movie came out, and we went to go see it, and it was fucking, or maybe after, I don't know, somewhere. But we were really into the Bad Boys 2 movie, you know, and the whole thing, we would always tell each other, we ride together, we die together, Bad Boys for life. And all the time, I remember I told him, I was like, no, bro, we ride together, we die together, Bad Boys for life. And he's like, okay. So I was like, okay. I kind of like took a quick second to make peace with all my demons, make peace with everything I've ever done in life, make peace with whatever God I believed at the time, and just say, you know what? Okay. I told him, hey, if you're gonna die, I'm gonna die here with you. I'm not gonna let you die alone. And he was like, okay, same here, man. So he took a quick second to pray, and I was like, please pray for me too, man. And he's like, so what's the plan? I was like, I'm gonna just drape yourself over me, and I'm gonna just run and not stop. I'm not, even if I have to walk, I'm not gonna stop moving. We're gonna be just one big walking target, a moving target. Well, I'm not gonna do it. That was absolutely not the right thing to do. But it was like, I didn't know what else I could do. I mean, I could have waited there for the unit to realize that we were gone and then start bounding back to us. But I felt that at the time that was going to be, what if they end up bounding to us first? I was low on ammo. I didn't have enough ammo to protect me and him for a substantial amount of time. So I wanted to get close enough to the unit where they could see us, and then, oh shit, let's start shooting out a party to go help them.
Yeah.
So,
and you didn't have a radio or anything on you, did you?
I did, but at that time, I didn't know until afterwards. The radio was shot.
Oh,
it was shot up, so I didn't know until that, because I didn't hear nothing. It was radio silence on the entire time we were doing that, right? So, so I just told Steve, like, all right, man, you ready? Here we go. I get him up. He hangs over me, and he's like, D, I love you, man. I'm like, I love you too, Steve. Let's go. Or, I mean, I didn't call him Steve. I always call him Coaches, but now we call each other by our first names. But I was like, all right, Coaches, let's go. Fucking, I take off running, dude. I remember in my head, I'm thinking of the fucking Rocky song. That's it. That's all. That's the part. Like, man, I'm tired, right? And no, man. But quit was never a word that I was ever like accustomed saying to myself. I quit. No, I never quit. I may have quit on living at that particular. I've given up on living. If I die, I die. But I never really like, oh, I quit on whatever. I quit. I'm just too tired. That's never been something I've ever said. So, man, I must have started off at a brisk jog, a little brisk jog, followed by a fast walk to an absolute just
snail pace.
No, maybe a trot.
Yeah.
To a mediocre jog, to a brisk walk, to just walking. And that was it, dude. I mean, he was absolutely heavy, dude, heavy. I mean, I remember there's sometimes I wouldn't even look at what I was shooting. I was just deuce.
How big? You say it was 6'5"?
6'7".
Oh my god.
6'7". 250 pounds.
You gotta be kidding me, man.
Plus without weight. That's without gear.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I remember I was kind of like just not even looking. I'm just like, oh fuck, like, I'm not seeing what I'm shooting. I'm just shooting.
Yeah.
And I can hear Steve like saying, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name," just praying, and I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, I gotta make it. 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 Man, that must have been the longest fucking 2 minutes of my life. Now, I didn't have to walk all 300 some odd meters. I think around 200 meters into it, the unit was able to see us and that we were coming. So they brought a fuck ton of reinforcements. So they brought 2 squads out there to come fight back to us and help me with Steve. So they helped me. They grabbed them. They asked if I needed any help. I was like, I need another magazine. I'm down to my last mag. Because I'm walking, I'm trying to shoot and keep cover. So like, I need more ammo.
Yeah.
And so the guys keep me a couple magazines. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm fighting my way back. My squad leader comes up to me, Sergeant Garver, and he has a real Sling Blade like voice and tone to him. I don't know if you know who Sling Blade is.
Mm-mm.
So his voice is kind of like, I always dog like this, right? So he had a real Sling Blade voice to him, and I remember it's like he used to call us his Himalayan hoe bags. That's what he used to call us. He goes, y'all are my little Himalayan hoe bags, with a huge ass dip in his, huge ass lower dip in his mouth, right? And he came, and I was continuing to try to fight and keep pushing forward, and he came up from behind me and he's like, DeLeon, you little hoe bag, I'm proud of you, son. What you did took balls. Stupid as fuck, but took balls. How you doing though, son? It's like, oh, sorry, I'm tired. It's like, shit, you just done carried a goddamn tower behind your back, boy. What you think was gonna happen? It's like, shit. I don't know. Like, just question. What in the blue fuck were you thinking? I was like, trying to save Steve. Why didn't you bring your team with you? Like, honestly, I thought I was gonna be able to get him there by like close to myself. I thought I could just. I thought he was just having a machine gun, like a malfunction. I can go and help him. We can come run back. He's like, damn, son, I would have done that. I was like, yeah, it's in the heat of the moment, Sergeant Garver. I had to do. I did what I thought was the best thing to do, and keeping everybody safe, and just only risking myself. It's like, well, I'm not gonna say that was the right way to do it, but that was a way to do it. And I was like, you mad at me? He was like, nah, son, I'm glad you're alive. Good shit, brother, man. Good shit. And so we end up making our way back to the base of the hill. We start making our way up the hill already, and we already had a ceasefire by that point. The enemy stopped shooting at us because on top of the hill we have fucking like I don't know if you know what a crows are.
No.
Is like turrets, like remote turrets that
okay.
you can actually, and we mounted 50 cows and Mark 19s up there and strategic pots to be able to shoot into it. So once we started getting there, the two other platoons that were in there, they started getting on the turrets and they started laying down fucking 50 and Mark 19s.
Nice.
And they're dropping fucking shit there as we're starting to make our way up the hill. So
start putting some separation between you and
so
the enemy.
they started fucking pushing them back. They're like, all right, cool. They give us support. They go, those are fixed support by fire positions. So we start making our way up the hill, and Sergeant Garver comes up to me, like, hey, DeLeon, again, I'm real proud of you, son. Real proud of you. Don't do stupid shit like that again, okay?
Like, roger that.
Like, yes, Sergeant. Then again, my mentor, Ronnie Morgan, comes up to me. He's like, hey, D, you got balls of steel. I was like, I don't think I can feel my balls right now. It's like, you want to get your fat girl on with me? I was like, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. What that generally meant is we're going to go fucking like find all the sweets we can and we're going to just binge on fucking sweets until we get into a sugar coma.
Damn.
I was like, and that's what we were doing, man. Later on, I found out that I got written for an award for that. That's where I got my first Valor Award, where they wrote me up for that, and I got my first Archon with Valor Award for what I did to help Steve.
Yeah, well, he could have been dead if you didn't do that. Now.
I guess I try not to think like that because we've been through a lot together, me and him. Man, I've been through like three, 4 divorces with him. He's been through pretty much everything I've ever had to do in life. I mean, there was a good portion of the time where for like a year he was actually living. He didn't really live with me, but he was at my house like almost every day. From the moment we get off of work till like 11 o'clock at night, he'll go home and sleep. And it's bare before he got married. He was like living with me almost. And on the weekends he was there all weekend long. And even to this day now, man, that he's a state trooper now in Alabama. Not state trooper, I'm sorry. A sheriff deputy in Alabama. And he came to visit the other day. Let me just show you what this dude looks like.
Oh wow, yeah. He sure does, man.
He towers over me. And that guy. Now granted, he's a little pudgier now. But like he is just fucking way over me. Like I'm 6 feet. That dude's 6'7". And I mean, now he's probably on the verge of 300, maybe 260, 270. But oh boy.
Yeah.
That was a heavy ass dude. So, but even to this day, we still very good friends. We still call and text each other almost daily and find out what we're doing. But that was when I first got my Archon with Valor, and one of the most proudest moments I've ever had. to do. And he always tells me all the time, like, "Hey man, thank you for saving my life. I didn't, I probably couldn't have made it. Saved my life." And he was fine. Like maybe in like 3 weeks, he was back at it again. He was on light duty for a little bit just to let the bruise go down, and after that, he was back at it again. Didn't need to evac him or anything.
Yeah, when you had told me that, like when he was having trouble breathing, I immediately thought like, well, maybe he had like a pneumothorax, which is like air
Yeah, air in the cavity.
in
You
the
needed.
air.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't puncture. It just gave him a.
No, because I mean, from I mean, like at least from my medical training, from what I've heard, is like you don't necessarily need to puncture to create
A blood
that
pocket in
yeah
there.
that air pocket in there, because what most people don't know is that the lungs are kind of like, I want to say like two balloons, right? And there's like a lining. Maybe we'll imagine like where your ribs are, like the rib cage. Let's imagine there's like some glue or something that that has the balloon sticking to the rib, right?
Mhm.
So that way there's no cavity there, and the lungs could fill and contract or whatever with ease and stay in place and everything and work the way they're supposed to. But if that lining is broken, there can be pneumothorax, where meaning pneumo is air, and of course thorax is in your thorax or your
Thoracic cavity.
yeah, there you go, thoracic cavity. Or you could have hemothorax, which is filled by blood, which both are bad, but essentially you could still get a pneumothorax just from like, even if you took like a maybe like a really just a really hard hit there.
Yeah, and it was crazy, man. So, and to this day, I don't think I'm a hero. I don't think, oh, I fucking saved your life. I don't rub it in his face, because at the end of the day, I did what I thought he would do for me. He's had my back so many times up to that point. It was only right for me to have his back. The connection me and him have, the connection me, Steve, Klein, which is my saw gunner, Manny, and all of us in that deployment that we have is unbreakable. It's undeterred. It's something that we can go 20, 30 years without seeing each other, and when we see each other, it's like we never. It's like we just finished talking yesterday. We'll pick up right where we left off. It's that, trial under fire, where you get hard, where you harden yourself under fire. It's like I always tell people, the kind of friendships you make when you're in combat like that is like forging a knife out of steel. And when you forge and you get it to a super hot temp, and you get it in the quench, and you come out hard. Quench being a metaphor for a traumatic experience that could change you guys. When you come out, you come harder, and it's super super hard, and it's unbreakable. Well, not unbreakable, but it's extremely hard to break.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel that the friendships that I got with them, us being a bunch of, you know, metal, and getting heated into the combat. And when we take the plunge, is when we're that metaphorical plunge to quench it, is the traumatic experience that we saw, that we experienced, that we had to do, and then coming out of it alive. You just make a joke out of it, and like, oh, there's another one. Here we go again, right? Um, and just go with it. And I remember when we were sitting down, I was like, man, that was so nice that the Taliban decided to throw me a birthday party, because that was my birthday. October 16th, 2012. It was my birthday.
So
It was
that hold on, that day
that
was
did
on your, oh
on my
wow.
birthday. It was on my birthday. On my 100%. I mean, I don't have my wallet, but I can show you.
Mm-hmm.
That's my birthday. It was my birthday, October 16th. And I was like, man, it's so nice of them to throw me a party.
October 16th, what year?
2012.
2012.
Yeah, I was like, man, it's so nice today that they threw me a birthday party. You know, and it was fun. I mean, it's still funny. It's still fucking funny, right? And but man, that particular deployment, dude, I swear that out of all of my deployments, that was the most violent. That was the most. Oh God, man, we lost so many people that time. It was the most violent deployment. Real, real violent. I mean, dude, I think we must have broke the record, and I know this for a fact. I know this for a fact. We broke the record for most firefights in 1 month. That's
Damn.
100% facts. No other unit came close to as many firefights as we got into.
Damn.
We were we were getting it.
Yeah.
And again, Captain Kenshin at that particular time when he was leading us, man, he drove us like slaves. But man, did that make us better at the end? It made us fucking better at the end.
I feel like those hard times in your life, they always do make you better.
Hard time creates strong men. And you know, it was good, man. But again, even then, like you have some some close calls, dude. Like you were talking about fracture side. That particular deployment too, we were doing an operation where we're gonna it actually correlates to when we found that black tar heroin also. We were conducting a raid inside this compound where we were finding these dudes who we had good intel of where they were at, and we were gonna go in there, hem them up, and then pass them over to the human team so they can get interrogated. The human team was with us; they were attached to us. So imagine we had a support by fire element on top of a hill to overlook at the compound, and the assaulting element was moving along to try to get in position, because what was going to happen is they were going to fix the enemy or fix the compound with mortar attack to deter anybody from leaving or moving or coming in or whatever. We were going to be set up and kind of move a long way, get set up in a mobile support support by fire. So we were going to have an assault element within the assault element. I mean, we were going to have a local support by fire and an assault element pushing forward, and we're going to just keep bounding through until we're the mortars or fixing the enemy was complete, and we'll move in and we'll start clearing the compound. Well, good in theory. You know how Mike Tyson says everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. Well, again, I don't know how this happened or what happened. Whoever was on top of that hill overlooking, when they started calling in mortars to get the start having the fixing the enemy portion, start dropping mortars, started softening the target for us. So if the compound was here, the top of the hill was over here, we were on the side, like, what I'm saying, this is the compound,
Mm-hmm.
this is the hill looking down on it, we were over here. Oh, this was just fucking like poppy fields. Far over here was a major river, and it was just kind of like just terrain leading up to us. There was a mountainside beyond the distance, huge mountain. That's what separated Kandahar from the Helmand province, where all the Marines were at. That huge mountain, that mountain line, was to separate us. And so we're kind of waiting for the fixation to come. And again, you do your training and you start hearing the. And I'm like, we shouldn't be hearing that. We shouldn't be hearing that. And then all of a sudden, Eddie Adams, God rest his soul, he starts hearing, holy shit! And behind us, granted, thank you, Jesus, it was only 60s. Motors start dropping and start walking in on us. And, oh man, Eddie was like, everybody run for your life! Dude, we all run and we're all diving into the fucking poppy field, and I'm like, holy shit, we're gonna die here. And granted, they started seeing the way they started seeing the splash, and they instantly cut the fucking rounds off. And
somebody get on the radio, be like, hey, you idiots. Like,
they're like, look, somebody gave the wrong coordinates.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna blame the fucking mortarmen for them doing that. Somebody gave them the wrong coordinates. Either they don't know how to plot, or somebody gave them the wrong coordinates. Right? It was a rumor that Captain Kenshin did some crazy math in his head and just gave random numbers out there, thinking that's it. because he used to be a mortarman when he was an enlisted guy.
Uh-huh.
So it's rumored that he came up with some crazy numbers in his head, and they're like, "That's it." It was not it. That was not it. And so we fixed that shit, and they're like, you know what? Fuck it. So we just had 240 saws, M4s, and everyone just started blasting away as we moved up, set up on our final assault point. Once we got there, we waited for them, and they actually got the 60s in order. We had our own 60s there, so they say, "Fuck it, let's just use our 60s, and we'll fucking." Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't 60s that shit. It was 80s, 81s that came from behind
those are
us.
the big ones, huh?
A little bit bigger, not too much, maybe about like that big, right? 81s that were behind us. We had our own 60s, so we just started shooting 60s with laser rangefinders. Get a range in a fucking in a an azimuth or a fucking a degree, and they'll change it over to mils and start raining that shit inside the compound, right? So we didn't have to be afraid. And the guy that was on the 60, his name was Hunter Blackman. So the dude was really good, really good at with the 60s and fucking dropping fucking that motherfucker in the fucking in a hole if you needed to, right? So he was doing that. We fixed the enemy. We go in. I mean, dude, there was really nothing left for us to do. It was like everybody was already dead, going there and
Those mortars.
just kicking people out of the way, and that's where you found those black tar heroin balls. And that was like I don't know how much that would have been. That must have been a couple $1,000,000 right there.
Oh yeah.
If we were to sell it on the streets or something.
Oof.
Damn. And we bipped it. And BIP stands for blow in place. Yeah, that was a crazy one, man. That was the only time I've ever gotten into like close to fracture site, but
that's pretty close, man.
now I mean, 81s have a pretty good kill, but there was like a 400 or 500 meters behind us.
Oh.
But the fact that it's coming behind us, it's not like they're here. It's here, a couple 100 meters here, a couple 100 meters here, a couple 100 meters, or maybe 50 to 100 meters, and it's walking to us. So it's not like it was 200 meters behind us because we would have been in the blast radius, right? It was a good ways behind us, but as you're seeing it, like, oh shit, it's coming in our direction, so we gotta run, right? So they still fucking one of those like my butthole's puckered up. Yeah, man, it gets pretty intense sometimes. It gets pretty intense with some of these stories. But like some of these stories, the stories make no just the video just man makes it like it speaks for itself. These videos.
Yeah. So you have videos of
Yeah.
that? Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Let's see if we can get that and maybe put a little bit in there for
Yeah.
the viewers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We got videos.
How would you mentally prepare before each mission? Was there like a
Man,
ritual or anything?
everybody has their own way of like mentally prepping for things, right? Some guys would pray before a mission. Some guys they'll be like, oh, I need to wear this shirt because this is my lucky shirt. Or everybody had different things, man. I've seen some guys eat the same shit before we take off. I've seen the guys watch a movie like 300 before we take off. My particular way I used to get ready, it wasn't nothing really special. I didn't really like have ritual. My ritual was always hey, MWE.
MW, what's that?
Men, weapon, and equipment.
Men,
weapons, and equipment.
Weapons and equipment. Okay.
Make sure my men are ready. Make sure our weapons are ready, and make sure our equipment's ready. That's it. And maybe like I guess taking a nap before we would take off, and that's it, just to make sure I got well rested or something. But that was it really. That was all I really did is just make sure MWE was up and take me a power nap. Let's go.
What skills do you feel ranger or somebody that would aspire to be a ranger should possess?
We'll teach you everything. We'll teach you everything. Just don't give up. Just don't give up. They'll teach you everything you need to know. It doesn't matter what you think you know. You don't know it. Even if you make it, when you get there, you don't know anything. Just don't give up. Just know tomorrow's another day. It's another day to get better. Don't give up. There's nothing where like if you know this, you're gonna be fucking light years amongst everybody else. You're not. You're not. Just don't give up. Don't quit. Don't bitch. Don't complain. Take everything as a lesson. Take everything as adding to your repertoire, and just do it. Failing is not failing, because if you're not failing, you're not even trying. Failure, like I don't like how people like, oh, I failed, and they get super bummed about that they failed. You shouldn't look at failure as a negative thing. You learn more from your failures than you do from your victories. Take a failure as a lesson. Learn from that lesson. If you're just failing at the same shit over and over, you're not learning anything. You're not taking this shit seriously. Everybody fails. I failed at things and I took it as lessons. Lesson learned. And now I know how I can do better here. Take everything as a lesson. Don't give up. Be open to constructive criticism, because you're going to get a lot of that. Use the negativity that people give you or saying to you, and turn that into fuel to fuel your own intestinal fortitude, like to build yourself up. Use that as fire. Use that as fuel to burn the intensity of what you got going on. That's something I always did. When someone would say, you can't, that would set me off. Watch, I'm going to prove you wrong. The basic is, you weak piece of shit. Or when anybody said anything negative about me, I took that, and I didn't just like crumble down like today's society. They crumble down if you make any kind of negative comment about them. I didn't. I take that and I use that as fuel, and I get better, because I don't want to be seen that way.
I guess the perspective you look at it as, when people are, say you're this or that, be like, no, I'm not gonna let that come to life. Like I'm gonna force my will, right, to show you that you're wrong.
Another thing, I don't know if I said this last podcast, but again, one of the greatest quotes that I got told by many peers that I had. There's one particular quote from one of great peers is, you ever hear the people saying, oh, I'm having a bad day right now. I'm having a bad day. And I used to be a person that used to say like, oh, Sarin, I'm having or first Sarin, I'm having a bad day. And a peer of mine pulled me aside and was like, having a bad day? Do you want me to get your fucking tampon? Hmm? Hmm? Having a bad day? You want me to wipe the saliva off your mouth? Having a bad day? It's like, so people control you then? I was like, what do you mean? People control you? You having a bad day? I was like, let me tell you something. When you can start controlling what happens in your life, until you realize that you control what happens in your life, you're always going to have this mentality of, oh, other people, I'm having a bad day because of this. It's like, no. And he told me, I may have a bad minute, a bad hour. I never have a bad day. Why? Because I run off my own thermostat. I don't let other people get me angry. Why am I gonna let other people get me angry? I'm gonna let other people invade my space, my thoughts. Never. I may have, like I said, and he said, I may have a bad second, a bad minute, a bad hour, but never a bad day. Run off your own thermostat. And that was really good advice.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Now, I don't let people get me angry. They may try to get under my skin. Man, I control my thermostat. You don't control me. I control my actions. You don't.
I think Jocko Willink said this. He said, if you can't control your emotions, how can you control anything?
Facts. And you're right with that. A lot of people come and they've asked me, or I've seen around, like, hey, how do you become successful? How do you turn something around? Hell, I've even answered that at work sometimes with some of the people that are asking me there at work. Hey, how do I turn this around? How do I turn this around for myself? Small battles. I think most people get caught up in like these, like, say you set up yourself personal goals, and they shoot for the absolute fucking stars, which is fine. Like, go for it, right? But they're trying to go for they're trying to go from here to the moon, but forget the little steps you need to take to get there, right? So I think that's where a lot of like, oh my God, I'm not succeeding fast enough. And I think the reason is because they don't give themselves wave points. Little victories make big victories.
Yeah.
Right? Just like war. You gain a little bit of ground and a little bit of ground and a little bit more ground. you feel good. So when you finally get to that major battle, you win. Hey, I had so many little victories back there. I came here with the confidence the size of an elephant dick. You know, like I fucking here ready to fucking go. And I think if people were to do that a little bit more, they'll actually find themselves more successful in life. If you just give yourself little victories, wake up, do your bed. Sounds minuscule, but that's a small victory right there. Makes you feel better, makes your spouse feel better. Hey, things look nice. Invite people over. You don't have a fucking mess to clean up. It's something like that. I think that help out the people do in any aspect of your life. Just figure out what you got to do, and as little as it seems, those little things can really help you out. I think at least it helps me out. It really makes me feel good about myself when it's like I set a goal. I was like, oh, I want to do this, and I check it off. Boom, I got it. Ooh, I got it. Boom, I got it.
What are some of the challenges that you think America's military is going to be facing, well, now and in the future?
Man. Oh, God, dude. One of the reasons why I got asked, because I didn't agree with the direction the Army was going already, right? I felt that the influx of new kids, we were lowering the standards to be able to get people to graduate just to fill the forces. And especially in the infantry level, like, no, man, we shouldn't be lowering the standards. It should be the standard. We can't be sending, half-assed products of the world's best fighting force in the world into a war when they're just half-assed, when there's just a half-assed product. And I felt like there was a lot of coddling, just kind of when I feel like the Army was being very politicized, and it's like, oh, we got to conform to what society is doing, as opposed to when I was in, it's like we're not going to conform to you, you're going to conform to us. I felt it was the opposite towards the end of my career. It's like, well, the Army's now starting to conform to the incoming Joe and their sensitivity to every fucking thing, as opposed to the way it was in the back. Yeah, they can call it toxic leadership, but it made some hard motherfuckers, and it made some fucking badass people that took over Iraq in 100 hours. I saw an article once here recently where I believe it was the Air Force. They had a transgender, or I guess a male officer that was now identified as a woman officer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, man, it's like once you start infiltrating the officer ranks, we're doomed.
It's a wrap.
We're fucking doomed.
Yeah.
I think we're doomed as a fucking. They were like allowing that shit to happen. I hope it doesn't go bad, man, but I do think that a lot of the guys that came before us that fought for our freedoms to be able to do what we want, say what we want, and live free, we're spitting on their faces by doing the shit that we're doing today. Look at the Gaza and Israel shit. People are fucking like, people in Gaza are dying. But do you even know what you're talking about? They're talking about river to river and all that. Do you even know what that means? I think today's society is so ill-informed. They'll read something on the internet, take it as facts, and boom, go with it. They're so ill-informed about what's happening in the world and what all that means and what actual mass genocide means and shit. It's not even funny. For instance, I saw this one thing one time where this woman's rally for pro-abortion or women's rights for like abortion or whatever, where they could have the pro-women's choice for abortion. And there was a young man that was there that was against abortion because he believed it was wrong. And I believe the woman came up to the young man and was like, "Hey, if it's my body, my choice." And the guy was like, "Why is that?" And he was like, "Cause if you don't have a say in it, then if you don't have what I have, then or you don't go through what I had to go through, you don't have a say in to tell me what to do." Some people would think that's valid, right? Like, oh, well, she has a point. The young man turned to her and he said, "Okay, can I ask you something real quick?" She's like, "Yeah. Do you think the mass genocide of the Jews by the Germans, like, you think that was bad?" It's like, "Yeah, I do think that was bad. They shouldn't have happened either." So something that didn't happen to you, you have an opinion on? You shouldn't have an opinion on that if that didn't happen to you. Dead ass silence. Like, you can have an opinion on something that doesn't involve you, but I can't have an opinion on something that doesn't involve me. And that's why I think now the country is now so divided to where, like, man, it feels like an outsider looking in, like the left is like such radical. It's like on the verge of becoming fucking third world country fucking shitbirds. Like, look at California.
Mm-hmm.
Shit's like a fucking failed state. And a bunch of the Californian people are coming here to Austin. Austin is a little California now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of like talking to my wife, like, yo, let's move to Georgia, another red state that could stay red. I don't want to live in a state that's blue state. I don't. I'll fucking leave this bitch in a heartbeat.
Honestly, my personal opinion, and I don't know if this is me just being pessimistic or realistic, outside of like the flyover states, everywhere else it's everywhere now. It's at your front door now. Like, you have to work with people that identify as transgender or whatever.
I'm not into that shit.
And because that's there now and they're protected, it feels like they're protected. Like, anything you say against them could be your ass, man.
Yeah, man. Anything you say, it's like,
and it's so
you don't even have to say nothing offensive. It's just you could be talking about yourself.
I feel like it's an attack on masculinity,
and that's the whole thing. Women are like, I want a traditional man, but they don't want to play a traditional role. I think TV and these reality stars and these like women that just chase athletes and get a payday just because they gave birth to a child, it's starting to poison the youth into thinking that's all you need to do. For instance, I'll tell you a quick story. When I went to Mexico with my wife to visit her family, visit my in-laws, right? It's surprising how you will see everybody over there. You could be dead ugly, like the most ugliest person in the world. Say you have green papers in her hometown. Everyone, from the ages of 17 all the way to fucking 50 would throw pussy at you and want to marry you.
Green papers is in like a U.S. citizen?
Yeah. Say you have papers and they'll fucking throw it at you. They don't give a fuck.
Because they see a meal ticket. That's what they see.
They see that.
A golden, shining, gleaming meal ticket.
I even go one step further. You ask them, what do they want? They want to find an American. They somehow believe that everybody here is a millionaire. They make, like, they think that me and my wife, specifically my wife, she saves $7,000 a month after her bills are paid. I'm like, fuck, I wish we did. We wouldn't have to work if we were saving $7,000 a month.
Wonder what kind of news they're watching.
I don't know. They live in this, like, oh man, dude, I wish my wife was here. She could tell you too. These girls are absolutely used and abused in their 30s. They're going to come here, find first and foremost, they want to find a rich guy to take care of them. I was like, okay. Do you realize that the rich in America are less than 1%?
Mm-hmm.
Less than 1%, if not 1% at that. They want to find a rich man to take care of them and don't have them work. It's like, okay. So you're in your mid-30s. You want to find a rich man to take care of you and give you the life of the princess life. But don't you think that a rich man like that is going to want to have a younger girl? So what are you doing to beat the younger girl? And they have it like, oh, I want to have, like, stop it. Stop it. You sound dumb. And me and my wife make fun of those people all the time.
We'll go ahead and leave it there. I want to thank you again for being here on the podcast.
Yes, sir.
It's always a pleasure. And, man, that was a good story, man.
Yeah.
That really helped me paint the picture of even more of what you first had told me, with more of those details. And, man, that's a good one. All right, guys. Well, till next time, thank you for being here and tuning in to the BSP, the Bull Spitting Podcast. We'll catch you next time.